pre-recorded message.
May darating yung staff. Wala pa siguro.
Oh, it's already?
Pag-skip na lang muna natin.
Okay.
Pag gano'n na ito namin. This is live. Oh, we're live. Okay.
Way to start the morning, right? Here you go. You have to be your extra, like, you're helping with all the things and stuff. Okay. Awesome. You're sending your feelings. I'm Adrian. What's your name? Mark? Mark? Mark. All right. Are you okay to take a picture? There you go. Start right there. There you go. Nice to meet you.
It's Gloria.
Gloria, nice to meet you, Gloria.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, before I forget.
Big one. We should have this every year, Beethoven. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll keep doing that.
Oh, you like this?
Very good at hitting the ball.
1, 2, 3. That's good. I invited a lot of students, and some of them are migrant workers. There's 3 are working in Tim Hortons, but they were not allowed to have a day off for today. So, because they're working students, usually they go to school, and sometimes after that during weekends they work because they need to earn money to pay for the tuition. So I just gonna do a live with this something we visit, so you will know what you gonna say.
Okay. Sure. Perfect. Okay.
So we have participants in the live stream as well.
Yeah, this is right. Live stream.
It's coming from downstairs to attend this event. I think that do you have someone from downstairs coming?
No, we started.
Oh, we just start now?
Yeah.
How are you?
I think we have to about to start.
Hello, good morning everybody.
Morning.
Welcome everyone. I was expecting to have more people, but actually more people actually in the consulate, like for their consulate matters. We have instructed them that as soon as they're done with their matters there, they can come back here and attend to our presentation. Okay, so good morning everybody. So my name is Clive and my partner here is
Gloria.
Yes, so we are your MCs for today's event. So welcome to Filipino Migrant Workers Conference. Okay, so it's just a shame, Filipino time na naman.
I know.
I know it's more coming though, but again, Filipino time, they will normally come late. Probably some people are still, I have some people who knew that will come after lunch. Okay, so
Again, everybody, welcome to this conference. So we are very happy to see you around and hear some information from our important guest here at this place.
okay, so let's officially start our program by saying a simple prayer. Okay, we may welcome Mr. Mark Andres. Say a prayer to
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you today as we gather all together in this place. Today was a special day for our Filipino-Canadian community. It is a day for us to fetch wisdom and guidance on the laws and rights of this land. A day to get things done on our documents. And most especially, a day to collaborate diaspora and share a meaningful partnership and our people-to-people ties. Father, we ask for your divine wisdom to be upon our guest speakers and participants today. Also, for the patience and endurance of our consulate officers, all people with scheduled appointments, and those who are dropping by. To our sponsors, organizers, and fellow volunteers, may you continue to strengthen us all with one accord. And lastly, we leave this place and all the things we are using today. May the end of the day be finished fruitfully and with victory. For the love of God, family, country, here in Canada and the Philippines, we ask all of this through the Lord Jesus Christ. And everyone says, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, so let's proceed. We'll start with thanking our sponsors first, our partners. So this movement is actually a coordination of different Filipino organizations in Ontario. So the first one is Filipino Global Initiative Foundation Incorporated, along with Department of Migrant Workers, Department of Foreign Affairs, and Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, and of course Filipino Achievers of Canada, SMNI, and the Filipino Association in Barrie and suburban areas. Okay, so and for our sponsors,
I think we also have to thank our sponsors. We have the Buy and Remit, which is right behind you, and also Vistaland as well. The Advocare Law, T4G is also at the back as well. So
Yes.
Properties Inc. If you want to purchase a house or a land, maybe you can just consult them there. And we have the Filipino Migrants International Affairs Society, and we have the Home Care.
Philcan Home Care.
Thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you so much for your support, guys. Okay.
Thank you guys for coming.
So just housekeeping rules. Our bathroom is actually beside here. There's a male, female bathroom. And then you can also wash your hands over here. And the food is over there. Coffee, right? So while it's still warm. So we can serve it now, right?
I think we can.
Yeah, so if you're hungry, guys, if you wanna take some
Feel free,
vibe,
feel
feel free to grab there.
Tim Hortons still warm there and hot, so you feel free.
Yes. Okay, so it's just an honor for today that we have special guests. Okay, the first guest that we have is our honorable MPP of Barrie, okay, Innisfail and Parliament Assistant to the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs. Okay, so she's our first speaker for today. But let me call Andrea Canyon.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you for that warm welcome.
Yes.
So as mentioned, I'm Andrea Canyon. I'm the member for Parliament of the South End, Barrie, and Innisfail. But no matter where you live, I'm happy to be a conduit for any questions or any information you may need. I'm always delighted to help the community, and it's nice to see that you chose Barrie and you chose to come out here today because you want to learn and pass on that knowledge, and that's very commendable. So I want to thank you all for joining in here today and inviting me. I also want to acknowledge and welcome the new Consular General. I know they're not currently in the room, but to the new Consular General to Ontario. I'm looking forward to working together. I did meet the previous Consular General in my role as Intergovernmental Affairs, and certainly we've been able to work quite closely together with that office on several issues, including, as I mentioned to some of you in the room, but we've been able to have meetings with the Consul General about the nursing program in the Philippines and to match the curriculum in your universities there that matches our curriculum in Ontario, so it's seamless to go between the two countries. So if you wanted to practice in Ontario and then you decide to go back home or whatever you decide to do, or you stay here, regardless, it makes for a more seamless transition because the curriculums are more similar. So that was an exciting thing that our provincial government was able to work on with the Consul General through a minister in his office to sign an MOU of understanding between those schools. Looking ahead at 2024, a remarkable milestone awaits in the relationship between Canada and the Philippines. It actually will mark the 75th year of our enduring bilateral relationship between the two nations. This serves as a great reminder of the countless ways in which our countries collaborate and support one another. The Philippines community has played an important role in Ontario's economy and plays an integral role in our province's rich diversity. Our government is committed to ensuring the safety and well-being of every worker. To that end, our government has taken steps to make sure that all workers, regardless of their immigration status, have a safe and welcoming workplace. And just earlier this week, Minister McNaughton joined the Professional Engineers Ontario, an acronym PEO for those that in the field, to celebrate them being the first body to remove the Canadian work experience. This has the potential to help thousands of otherwise qualified professionals pursue their dreams while maintaining Ontario's world-class licensing and exam requirements. Our government hopes to see more colleges follow suit soon. Minister McNaughton has bolstered our workplace and our workforce in terms of health and safety policy by increasing the amount of inspectors we're hiring. And we now have a dedicated 100 dedicated professionals to ensuring that workplaces are safe. Today, Ontario has the largest number of inspectors in the history of our province, with over 500 diligently working to protect workers' rights. Additionally, we have raised health and safety fines to the highest level in Canada, sending a strong message to that work safety is not negotiable and that all employers need to follow the rules. Any worker who believes their health is at risk has the right to refuse work, empowering individuals to prioritize their well-being. Our government is also taking action against companies that disregard their employees' welfare. Any company that considers worker safety a mere cost of doing business must think twice, as they will swiftly face full force of the law. The Working for Workers Act, which we recently tabled and passed, proposed raising Ontario's workplace safety fines to the highest level in Canada, ensuring that workers' rights are robustly protected. There are currently nearly 300,000 job postings that remain unfilled each day. And as those job postings remain unfilled, we want to make sure as we do fill them, it is done in a safe and respectful manner. With that said, we've opened our doors to immigration from all backgrounds, including our cherished Filipino friends, to bridge these crucial gaps. Recognizing the immense value immigrants bring to our province, we continue to invest in our immigration system. We've invested an additional $25 million, which has been allocated to our provincial nominee program, enabling us to efficiently bring newcomers to Ontario and contribute to building a brighter and better future for the next generation. As part of our unwavering commitment to increasing Ontario's influence in immigration matters, we have worked closely with the federal government to augment the immigration nominee program of our province. And what does that mean? We've asked the federal government to have a little more control in terms of our economic immigration. So while we've increased our provincial nominee by 2025, Ontario will actually have the capacity of over 18,000 economic immigrants annually, and will have the ability to attract the skilled individuals needed to enrich our workforce and strengthen our communities. We've been able to do this under the leadership, of course, of our Minister McNaughton and our leadership of Premier Ford by addressing the labor shortage. And immigration is an exciting part that stands out as the most vital tool to achieve this goal. So we look forward to working with much of the community so that we can truly deliver on building a better and stronger Ontario that remains the best place to live, work, and raise a family. And so that everyone in this province is able to celebrate their diversity, inclusivity, and equal opportunity for all. And as I close my remarks, it is an exciting time for a provincial nominee program because we've been able to negotiate with the federal government to say, in Ontario, we are going to be accepting more immigrants, and we're focusing on our key labor shortages, especially the skills trades. So as I mentioned earlier in my remarks, it was really key to work with the College of Engineers, and we're continuously working with other regulatory bodies so that we can break down many of those barriers so that you can enter the workforce seamlessly, and it helps us in Ontario address our labor shortage needs. So I did want to close my remarks by saying that if you do have any questions, I'm happy to take a few now. And I did want to welcome all of you that if you ever have any questions, please do reach out to my office, and Catherine, who's with my team here. You'll probably see her there because I'm between the Toronto office and the Barrie one. But please do use us as a resource. If you're one of those folks that's very diligent, you're a reader, and you have a newsletter that you can subscribe to, we try to update it on a lot of policies, what have you. But we do want to be a resource for you and work for you to make your experience here in Barrie and in Canada much smoother. I know I'm also an immigrant, but I came at 4 years old, so my experience is a little bit different. But I definitely sympathize with all of you and what you're going through, and I just want to make your journey stable and a good journey. So thank you very much. Any questions? Reach out anytime. Thank you.
That was very impressive, Andrea, and we are very lucky, and Barrie is very lucky to have you to an advocate for us workers, especially for us Filipino immigrants. And I think the people here really loves you, and maybe also in Ontario. And that was I can see the passion in you, and we just hope and pray whatever you want for the immigrants and also the workers. You will be there to support us, especially our co-Filipinos. Thank you so much.
Yes, so our next speaker, so it's an honor to call her. She's a Senior Manager, Divisional Intelligence Unit, Office of the Assistant Deputy Minister, Fair, Safe and Healthy Workplaces, Minister of Labor, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. Without further ado, let's all welcome Kelly Howie. She might use the screen.
Okay.
Actually,
Can I project? Is that okay?
yeah, sure.
Just fine. Sorry, I got
So guys, she'll be talking about our rights as a worker. So if you have questions in mind, so have it ready so that during the question and answer, feel free to ask those questions.
Sorry, I apologize for being a pain.
Problem. This is Steven's. There you go.
Will it reach over to the podium?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, good.
All right. Okay, can everyone hear me okay? Yes. All right. So hi, so thank you so much for having me today. Oh, okay. So thank you so much for having me today. My name is Kelly Howard. I'm a manager with the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, and Training and Skills Development. So I run a very unique unit within the ministry. And my officers and my inspectors look to investigate and detect employers who are suspected of labor trafficking. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about a couple of things. I want to talk to you just generally about what your rights are here in Ontario, but I also want to help you understand what labor trafficking looks like and how you can get help if you or someone you know is facing labor trafficking. I have very informal presentations, so if you have any questions for me, just raise your hand. We can stop halfway through and turn the final time. Can I hear everyone okay, or is it feels like it's me?
No. You can hear in the back, right?
Can you hear me? Okay. So I work for the Fair, Safe, and Healthy Workplaces Division of the Ministry of Labor. And so we have a whole host of different divisions that kind of help us enforce all the labor laws in Ontario. And the division that I work for just specifically deals with labor laws that will impact you in your day-to-day work. So the one thing I want to say is that it doesn't matter what your immigration status here is in Ontario. You have the same workplace laws as anyone else in this province. And we cover, generally speaking, all workplaces in Ontario. So we have 6 regions in the province, and so we have officers dispersed throughout all of those regions. And so there's different types of officers that you might encounter when you're at a workplace. So we have occupational health and safety inspectors, and they enforce the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And we also have employment standards officers, and they enforce 2 different pieces of legislation, the Employment Standards Act and the Employment Protection for Foreign Nationals Act. So this map just kind of shows you what our reach is and how we set out our different regions, right? So depending on where you are in the province, you'll have different officers who are in your workplaces. Okay, so I don't have, normally when we come and do these kind of presentations, we'll spend, like an hour on each piece of legislation, but we don't have that kind of time today. So I thought what I would do is just generally go over what types of laws will protect you. And of course, I'll stick around afterwards if you have any questions and let me know how to get in contact with our staff if you need to. So I'll start first with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So that piece of legislation is there to protect your safety in the workplace. And so under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, you have the right to know, the right to participate, and the right to refuse unsafe work. And so what we're saying there is you have the right to know about hazards in the workplace. When we say right to know, we're talking about joint health and safety committees. So depending on the size of your workplace, your employer will need to have a joint health and safety committee, and they're responsible for working with the employer and making sure that your workplace is safe. And if ever you feel that the work that you're performing is unsafe, you have the right to refuse. And at that point, you can work with your employer, and if you guys can't come to a resolution, then you would contact the ministry. Workplace health and safety laws will be different depending on the type of workplace that you're in. And so let's say you're working in a manufacturing place. You're going to be covered under our industrial rules. So there's going to be rules about chemical handling. If there's machines, there's going to be rules about machine guarding. If you're in the construction sector, there's going to be rules about working at heights, making sure you're tied off, that you have a hard hat, proper footwear, right? So it really depends on where you are, but the main thing is you should be aware of the hazards and you should have proper training on how to handle them, right? And there's different ways that workers can be protected. You can be protected at the source. So if we're talking, you're in a manufacturing facility, that would be, maybe if you're working with machines, maybe there's guards on machines, right? Maybe there's administrative controls. And if we can't put those types of things in place, then we go to personal protective equipment, right? So that we protect you at the source. So it's just really important that you're aware of those things. And I know that it can be difficult when you're, in a new place and you feel vulnerable, that you're afraid to kind of speak up. But it's really important that you do, right? Because there are lots of people who, don't have the opportunity to come home from work because of something that's happened at their workplace. So I think if I can say anything to you, if you feel like the work you're performing is unsafe, if you haven't had proper training, speak up, right? And we're here to help you if you need it. If ever you're not sure about your workplace health and safety laws, you can contact our call center, and the number is 1-877-202-0008. You can also just Google us too, and you'll be able to find it on our website. So that's the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The next one is the Employment Standards Act 2000. So this piece of legislation deals more with your wages and your hours of work. So the Employment Standards Act will set out things like minimum wage, right? That's the lowest wage that they can pay you. And so for most people, it's about $15.50 an hour. But again, it's going to depend on your industry. With the Employment Standards Act, there's lots of workplaces that, because of the type of work you're performing, there's different rules that apply to you. So it's always important that you check our website out if you have access to the internet to see what those exemptions, if any, there are. You can also call our call center, which is open from 8:30 till 5 every day, and those individuals can help walk you through what your rights are as well. PSA also talks about things like hours of work. So there are rules about how many hours you can work in a day and in a week. We also have rules about requiring an eating period. So for example, most people can't work any more than 5 consecutive hours without a 30-minute eating period. We also have rules about public holiday pay and when you receive that, right? So we have 9 public holidays in Ontario, and most people are entitled to receive those days off with pay. There's vacation with pay as well. So depending on how long you go with an employer for, you're entitled to either 2 or 3 weeks off for vacation, and then you receive vacation pay for that as well. There's rules about overtime. So for most people, if you work over 44 hours a week, then you're entitled to 1.5 times your regular rate of pay. Some other general rules that would kind of apply to all workplaces is our payment of wages provisions. So your employer needs to establish a pay period. They can make it what they want. They could say, we pay weekly, we pay bi-weekly. It's really up to them. But once they've established that pay period, they need to pay you on that pay period, right? We all have bills to pay. No one wants to work for free, and you want to know when you're going to get paid, and you have a right to that. An employer can pay you by check, they can pay you by cash, they can pay you by direct deposit. There's different ways that they can pay you. And with your pay, you should get a wage statement, right? And that's going to show what your pay period is, what your rate of pay is, how many hours you worked, and deductions. And that's a really important thing for you to take a look at to make sure that what they paid you is correct. I would also suggest it's really important to track your own hours, because sometimes mistakes happen. So you should really verify and make sure that what they paid you is what you worked. We have a lot of leaves of absence provisions under the Employment Standards Act. So all of our leaves of absence provisions will allow you to take time off without pay, but it's job protected. There are a ton of them, so I won't go through them all, but it's things like sick time, bereavement leave, pregnancy and parental leave, family caregiving leave, there's domestic violence leave, there's a whole host of them. So if something happens to you in your personal life, I would say make sure you check our website so that you're aware of what rights you have, because your job could be protected if you need to take some time off. If for whatever reason your employment relationship ends, there's also rules surrounding the ending of that employment relationship in terms of termination pay, and that's kind of surrounding how long you've been with the employer for. Some companies also need to pay severance pay, but that's if they have a really good payroll, so they have to have over $2.5 million a year in payroll, and you'd have to be there for 5 years. So that's kind of the ESA in a nutshell. I know I'm going really quick, and I'm sorry. The call center number for employment standards is 1-800-531-5551. So again, if you have questions, you can always call them. You can also go to our website. The final piece of legislation I want to make you aware of is the Employment Protection for Foreign Nationals Act. So this piece of legislation is only applicable to individuals who are foreign nationals. And it does a few things. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It provides you some protections if you have an employer or a recruiter who helps you come into the country. And it prohibits them from doing things like taking your property, right? So if ever you come over here, or someone you know comes over here into Ontario, and the person they're working for takes like their passport, for example, that's illegal. They cannot do that, and that's against the Employment Protection for Foreign Nationals Act. So just be aware that there is some rules that protect you there. That piece of legislation also protects you from an employer trying to recover fees or costs associated with you coming over here, right? So I think it's just really important that if something happens that doesn't quite feel right, you have a chat with us so we can try to help guide you through it and make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. So this slide just talks about an overview of what we kind of do, right? And so our officers have a couple of different roles. Not only are we looking to make sure that we're enforcing the labor laws in our workplaces, but we also want to make sure that we're promoting awareness. So lots of officers go out and do exactly like I'm doing today, and we try to promote awareness to different groups around the province so that they understand what their rights are. We also speak to a number of employers so they understand what their obligations are as well. So this is just a bit of an overview in terms of what our powers are. When we are under the realm of our regulatory hats, we have the right to enter a workplace without a warrant and conduct our inspections. We can interview workplace parties, we can take away records and documents that we need to do our investigation. We can issue orders and tickets and Part 3 charges under the Prevention Offences Act. So we have a variety of tools to use in order to make sure that your rights are enforced. So depending on what happens, these are a sample of how high our fines can go. So it really will depend on the situation. Our goal is always to make sure that there's deterrence in place and that the employer is in compliance, right? So sometimes we'll go the route of prosecutions if we need to. Sometimes there's honest mistakes, right? There's a lot of different things that employers need to know, and sometimes they make an honest mistake, and if they're willing to comply, then we don't have to use all the tools that we have available to us, but if we need to, we certainly will. So now I'm going to move into what the Divisional Intelligence Unit is. So I have a very small group of investigators. I have both occupational health and safety inspectors, and I have employer standards officers that report to me. And we're an intelligence-led group. And the reason why we need to be intelligence-led is because we focus on detecting and investigating employers suspected of labor trafficking. And labor trafficking is not something that you can see. It's not like you can just walk into a workplace and know that there's a lot of labor trafficking there. So we rely on information coming from a variety of sources that we will analyze to see if there's any merit to, and then we'll do our investigation. We represent the ministry in a number of different anti-human trafficking working groups, and we also work with lots of different police services and other law enforcement agencies, just in terms of identifying, labor trafficking. Sometimes the police will share tips with us if they think that someone is suspected of labor trafficking, so that we can come in and apply the regulatory piece and make sure that we get money back into the pockets of victims, and also make sure that there's no additional OSHA issues at the workplace. And then if we're doing an investigation and we know that there's labor trafficking, we'll let the police know as well, because we don't have arrest capabilities. So we can't go in and take a victim of labor trafficking out of a situation. That's for the police to do, but we'll work alongside them to make sure that we can try to get money back in their pocket that they haven't been receiving. So labor trafficking can kind of happen in a number of different spaces. We have seen a lot of it with illicit temporary help agencies. It seems that, for some it's very easy to kind of blur what they're doing when they're in that space. But it's also happening a lot in areas where we see underground economic activity, right? So construction can be one of them, different types of sales. There's lots of different places where it occurs, but they kind of all overlap. So labor trafficking is a form of human trafficking, right? And trafficking of persons is a criminal code offense. So on the screen, you'll see what the definition of human trafficking is, right? And it's the recruitment, transportation, harboring, or exercising control over an individual in order to exploit them. And I think typically when we hear about human trafficking, we think about sex trafficking, which is certainly a huge issue. Human trafficking is different than human smuggling. Human smuggling is smuggling of persons across the border, but then once they get here, they're free. But with human trafficking, their freedoms and their ability to move around freely is taken away from them. So So labor trafficking looks the same as human trafficking, except for its purposes of exploiting them for labor, right? And it can occur in a variety of industries, but it's the same kind of mechanisms, right? They're controlled, they're threatened, they can't move freely about as they would like to. So here are some indicators of human trafficking. And what we hear a lot about is that people are usually recruited, in their home country, and it happens via social media. And so, someone approaches them, gives them this offer that really is too good to be true. And they are coached in terms of how to get across the border. And when they get here, what they were told is going to happen is vastly different, right? And there's been a number of cases where once they cross the border and they've been tracked through, their passports taken, as well as their other personal documentation, and now they are forced to live somewhere that they didn't consent to, and they're driven to and from their work locations. They're also isolated often, so they can't actually talk to other people about what's happening. They're made to work excess hours in often very unsafe conditions. The employer will threaten them, either physically or threaten them in terms of deportation, right? Because often when they think they're coming over here, they think it's through legitimate channels because the employer has lied to them. So now the employer uses that against them. They'll also threaten their family members in their country, physically and otherwise. And they also typically are in a scenario of debt bondage. So often what we see is the employer will make them pay for their living conditions and their food, but the amount that they deduct is so high, they can never get out of this cycle of debt, right? So even if they wanted to leave or could, they can't because they don't have the financial backing to do so. So you might ask, where does labor trafficking occur? And it actually happens in a lot of different industries. So I mentioned that we see it a lot with temporary help agencies, and that's certainly true. But we also see it in agriculture. We see it in food manufacturing and production, construction, hotels, restaurants, and some other kind of industries I won't really talk about. But these are the main ones, I would say, right? So it's not in just one particular place. It's all over. And if they're using a temporary help agency, it could be in a number of different places, depending on where the client business is. So our strategy for trying to tackle labor trafficking is a few different kind of pronged approach, right? We have different regulatory partners. So in the OPS, there are a number of other ministries who also enforce legislation. And what we find is, as a government, we all regulate these businesses. So my team has been trying to work very hard at letting the rest of the OPS know what labor trafficking is, and how to identify it, and how to contact us, right? So that because we can't be everywhere at once, but we have a bunch of other provincial offenses officers across the province who are in these spaces. So we're trying to promote that awareness. We've also been working with a lot of victim service organizations because they will deal with victims of labor trafficking. And I understand that a lot of victims of labor trafficking aren't always comfortable coming to us because we are the government. So it's really important that we work with those victim service organizations to find out how it's happening in people's experiences and how we can do better as a government to promote awareness of this, because ultimately, the better we are at detecting it, the better we are at stopping it. As I mentioned earlier, we also work very closely with police services. Again, that's so that if we do find labor trafficking, we can let them know and they can pull people out of that situation. And the police will let us know, so that way we can go in and apply our regulatory piece and make sure we're getting money back into the pockets of victims and making sure there's no other additional ongoing labor issues at the workplace. So we're always looking for opportunities to collaborate, again, because we're intelligence driven. Any good intelligence units
Bluetooth disconnected.
will, you need information from a variety of sources, right? So the more information we can get in, the more we can better detect labor trafficking. So I thought I'd give you some examples of labor trafficking that you may or may not have heard of in the news that have happened over the past little while. So this particular case, as you can see, there was 43 victims of labor trafficking. There's a number of different law enforcement agencies involved in this case. We also had the support of victim services. So they were forced to work for a cleaning company, and they were they were transported to and from a variety of different locations in Collingwood and Cornwall and Northern. There were significant deductions of wages that resulted in workers earning less than $50 a month. So in these two cases, I'll talk about the one with the RCMP officer first. So this RCMP officer trafficked an individual from a different country. He owns an illegal puppy mill, and he forced this individual to work at this puppy mill with little to no wages and some really horrible working conditions. The individual managed to escape and contacted the police, and now this individual has been charged as a waiting trial. We've gone in as well and assessed money owing, and they're trying to collect it as well. And then we have another individual who, same kind of idea, she trafficked individuals for, she sent them to different construction companies, and again, forced them to work in places that they didn't consent to. So these are some pictures of some of the living conditions that we've seen. So there's been people having to sleep on mattresses, with bed bugs, not eating food, no privacy, and not able to leave these conditions, right? And in one of these situations, we've even seen people with like 2,000 square feet, and there's been about 20 people forced to live in the same space, right? So it's really important that, if you know anyone that this has happened to, that you let us know, right? Because we have to stop this. And I love that labor trafficking is our solution is a whole of community response, right? If we all work together and talk about what we're seeing, then I think we can make a difference. So we have a website on labor trafficking specifically for Ontario. So if you were to Google labor trafficking Ontario, you would find it. And so this website shows you, or tells you a little bit about what labor trafficking is, the signs of labor trafficking, and how to get in touch with us. Just like any other ES or EFNA issue, if you think that your employment standards or EFNA rights have been violated, you can file a claim with us. I recognize, though, that not everyone is comfortable filing a claim because then the employer will know that they've done it, right? So on our website, there's 2 additional ways that you can get a hold of us. There is labortrafficking@ontario.ca. That's an email address. So if you know of labor trafficking happening or you suspect that someone is going through it, you can email us, and we will investigate it. If you email through the labortrafficking@ontario.ca, we'll have your information. If you're not comfortable with that, on our website, on this labor trafficking website, there's an ability to reach us anonymously. So there's a little link and it says, use the anonymous form. And so if you use that, we won't know who's sending the information to us. It's important that you give as much information though as possible, right? So employer name, address where it's happening, and any other details that you see. Because the more information we have, the better we'll be at detecting it. So, any questions?
Regarding international students, are they also covered with the labor laws, or are there other resources for them? Because there's a lot of international students I know. They were kind of questioning, are they law covered for them?
Right. Yeah. So the question, just so we have it for those that are reporting, is does the labor laws apply to international students? And yes, they do. Right. It comes back to if you're working here in Ontario, it doesn't matter what your status is. The labor laws will apply to you. Where there are differences and what the labor laws are is the type of work that you're performing. But your immigration status is not relevant in our labor laws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more questions? Hello. 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 Yes, one. Okay.
I'm just wondering if the signing away, I have encountered a lot of signing away contracts by the employee. This is they have the official contracts, employment contracts, and when they get here and when they start working with the employer would give them another contract to sign because those were the actual works that they have to perform in the household. Is this considered trafficking?
So if they're signing away their rights,
Yes.
we have to see those other indicators, right? Trafficking is about the employer controlling their movements, right, and their freedoms essentially. So if they're working at a place and the employer just has sign a contract that basically says we're not going to listen to the labor laws, right? That may not in and of itself be trafficking, and unless there's other indicators. But I'll say this, and it depends on, like if we're looking at employment standards, for example, if an employer had an employee sign away their rights that they had under the Employment Standards Act, that signing would be null and void. They have a provision in the act that says you can't sign away your rights, right? So that should hopefully help protect them.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to know that I know if there are people or caregivers or other workers here that your employers would. I've encountered this in early 2000, from 2010, where I had a lot of, we and the police officers had a lot of rescue operations. We did taking away workers from the household of the employers because there's a lot of signing away of the contracts happened at that time, and hopefully at this point in time, that would already be minimized. And so if there is like that, I mean, you still have the right to, I mean, there are lots of resources that we have been given today, so please use those. Thank you.
Any more questions, guys? While we have a respective officer that can discuss on that. Okay, I have another question here because I'm a tax accountant for 18 years and I've encountered a lot of complaints from nannies and foreign workers, Filipino foreign workers. The reason why they endured abuse was the fear of being, because for LMIA, special labor market opinion, they only have 2 or 3 years to comply with that. And it took too long for immigration to process their documents, and if they're being let go by the employees because they complain, they would lose their status. Actually, I had experience with that. I fought for a certain client way back before 2010, and the employee actually ended up being deported because she lost her status. That's why every time I receive a complaint from my clients, I normally just tell them, just choose which battle you want to win. You want to win with the immigration, you want to win with your labor rights. Because it's really hard to juggle those two things.
They shouldn't have to juggle those two things though, right? So the Employment Standards Act and the Occupational Health and Safety Act, they have provisions in them that if you ask your employer to comply with your labor rights and they penalize you, then that would be a reprisal, right? So they shouldn't be penalizing an employee for asking them to comply with their rights. So if that happens, I would say give us a call, contact us. If it happens to one of your clients and you want to have a chat with me about it, I'll give you my business card. So I'm
That's
getting
amazing.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that shouldn't happen.
And another thing, as a community though, we're one community here, in Ontario, what can we exactly do or add, in addition to protect the rights of our fellow foreign workers, Filipino foreign workers, aside from just reporting?
Well, I think awareness is key, right? It's incumbent upon all of us to understand the laws that govern us, right? I mean, we don't drive a car without understanding the Highway Traffic Act. We should know a little bit about workplace laws and what our rights are when we go in, right? So I would say get to know what those laws are, and you can help people you know that way. And I think if we all do that and people aren't afraid to report it, then we can knock it down a little bit, right? But it will take time for that to happen and for people to be comfortable reporting.
Okay.
May I also add, I guess, what we did in the last few years is that the ESA, every time we would do, our group would do an information session, we would print the ESA and then we would give each worker and have them read that. Some would ask them to give it to the employer.
Yeah.
This is our right. And that actually minimizes abuse.
Yeah.
The ESA is very powerful tool and resources for the workers to have and be informed.
It is, yeah. And there is a poster that employers should post as well. And I would say if you're having information sessions for workers and you want us to come and do some training, then just let us know, right? Because we can do more detailed training on the ESA, for example, if that was what the area of interest was, so they have a bit more information at their disposal.
You have a question, Jerry?
Hi, relating to awareness and prevention, is there a list of potential or maybe even like a already list of traffickers that we can watch out for?
We wouldn't have them in my ministry in terms of publishing that list because we don't charge for labor trafficking. That would be the police, right? So I'm not quite sure if they do charge labor traffickers or arrest them. You typically see that in the news, but we don't have a list here. Yeah, it's a good question.
Related to the question, and how can we avoid our community being involved on those type of or those individuals or entities who do those things?
I think it's getting to know the signs of labor trafficking, right? I would say familiarize yourself with our website, do your research. If you're going to be, there are some things that, if you're online and you see someone post something online and there's little to no information about the employer, try to do a little bit of research, right? I've had cases before where, someone was picked up a corner, two corners of a road, and they were, their employer had a cube van, and they were driven to a work location. They didn't really have any information about their employer, and then they weren't paid, right? That's really hard to try to figure out who the employer is if all we have is a first name and the intersection where they were picked up, right? So the more information you have, the better. Do your research, right? Every time I've worked somewhere, I always try to check them out. I'll do Google searches, I'll talk to people in the community, see what else you're hearing, right? And know those signs of labor trafficking. And if something doesn't feel right, give us a call. We can have a chat with you about it too, right? And if you're worried, it's always best to, ask additional questions.
Any more questions, guys? No more? Yeah, so just to add on her statement, feel free to get her information. Okay, we're one community. There's one of you can actually help so many people when it comes to information sharing. Okay, so this is one of our movements here, and then take full advantage of the resources and financial of the information that we have here. Any more questions? No more? Thank you very much, Kelly. Thank you so much, though. Yes. Okay, so the next phase of our program is we're gonna play a recorded video. But while we are setting it up, we call Ms. Lani Aguinaldo to give her message of recognition to our guests.
Good morning again to all of you, especially to our migrant workers that are here. We are really happy that you were able to come. Kelly, that was very wonderful and informative information that you gave us. I'm just wondering, Kelly, I'm just wondering, thank you so much for that very informative presentation that you have given to us for our workers. I'm just wondering if you would be able to send us a copy of that presentation so that we can reproduce that and give it to the workers who were not able to come today so that they have something to start on, especially that they have no access to internet or computer in the field. So I'm just wondering if that's possible. And it's also a good information for the volunteers that are here.
Yeah, I'll do something a little bit different so they have different information.
Yes.
But I'll send you some.
Okay, thank you. And so before we will listen to the message of the Minister McNaughton, I would like to introduce to you the staff that is sent here, this most trusted staff that is sent here to us, to join us to you how they really care for the workers, for the migrant workers, and to support us here. So I would like to request Chris Mills, and Madison Lee. Both of them are from the Office of Minister Magnolia. Thank you, Madison. Thank you, Chris, for very helping us able to reach our messages to the minister. Thank you so much. So now let's have our time for the message of the minister.
Hello everyone, it's Monty McNaughton, Ontario's Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. I'm pleased to be able to speak with you today for the Filipino Migrant Workers Conference and provide insight into how our government, along with organizations like the Filipino Global Initiative Incorporated and Filipino Achievers Canada, are working together to fill and address the labour shortage. Next year, 2024, marks a special year for the relationship between Canada and the Philippines. It will mark the 75th year of strong bilateral relations between our two countries, which serves as a reminder of the ways our two nations work together. The Filipino community is a huge contributor to our economy and is an important part of our province's diversity. Each June, we celebrate Filipino Heritage Month, where we recognize these special contributions that have helped build Ontario. I'm proud to speak about the work our government has done to protect the rights of workers. We're doing everything in our power to keep all workers safe. This includes hiring an additional 100 new health and safety inspectors. With over 500 inspectors, we now have the largest number in the history of our province. We have also increased health and safety fines to the highest in the country, and any worker can refuse work if they believe their health is at risk. Additionally, we have taken action against companies that abuse the rights of workers. Any company that thinks worker safety is just the cost of doing business should think twice. They will quickly feel the full force of the law. Our recently tabled Working for Workers Act proposes raising Ontario's workplace safety fines to the highest in Canada. With the current labour shortage in Ontario and nearly 300,000 jobs going unfilled every single day, we have opened doors to ensure that immigrants of all backgrounds, including our Filipino friends, can help fill these labour shortages. We are continuing to invest in our immigration system. This includes an additional investment of $25 million into our provincial immigrant nominee program, allowing Ontario to more efficiently bring newcomers in and help build a better future for the next generation. As part of our government's commitment to increase our province's input on immigration matters, we've also worked together with the federal government to increase the immigrant nominee allocations that Ontario has. By 2025, we'll be able to nominate more than 18,000 economic immigrants every single year. Our government, under the leadership of Premier Ford, is working to fix the labour shortage, and immigration is one of the most important tools that we have in our toolbox. I want to thank everyone who is here today, including the new Council General and my colleague and friend, MPP Andrew Kanjan. I'd also like to thank all of you for your commitment and dedication to building a strong Filipino-Canadian relationship. Only by working together can we truly deliver for everyone and build an Ontario that is the best place to live, work, and raise a family. I wish you all the best with today's conference.
Maybe it's time for you to give that.
Chris and Madison.
Yeah, I would love to hear from you though.
Chris and Madison.
Hi, I'm Madison. I'm just from the minister's office. We're staff of his, so if you need anything else, please let us know. Lonnie has my contact information along with Chris's, so if you need anything else, just let us know. Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, so later guys, we will be posting all the contact information. We don't have them in one page in a way, so we're gonna compile them during our break. And then after your break, then we can have those information. Feel free to take a picture, screenshot, so that you know whom to contact in case certain issues will arise, okay? So we all help the community. And of course, we're not gonna leave you behind.
Chris is half Filipino.
Ay, kumusta? Maraming salamat po for inviting us. Kasi I know when I talked with Tita Lani and she was really excited about this project. I know it's very close to my heart. Kasi when my mom moved to Canada back in the early 90s as a caregiver, she got to experience a lot of those same issues that we have talked about today with regards to the abuses of workers, right? I know some of you have this similar experience, but when she lived in Singapore, she was forced to work 18 hours a day, 27 out of 28 days of the month. She got 1 day off per month where she got to do whatever she wanted. And these are, some of the things in the back of my mind and why it's so important that, with the ministry and with our partners here, we're able to really help support everyone who lives here in Ontario. So I just really appreciate Lani for reaching out to me and to work with many of you. Like I know with Judith, we had some discussions with MPP Dave Smith to talk about some of the challenges that we're facing. So with that, thank you very much for having us. I know me and Maddie are very excited to be here, even though it's technically our day off, but we're here to support everyone, right? So thank you very much, and I'll
Thank
pass
you
it
so
back
much.
over.
Thank you so much.
We really
Thank you so much. Thank you, for supporting our movement.
Yeah, and I have a question.
Yes.
Question and answer portion.
Yeah, this is open forum, guys. Okay.
If you remember anything that you want to ask, do it now.
Yeah, because with the new announcement made by Minister McNaughton about licensing of the electrical engineers, when will this take effect? Like I have few engineers coming, and I actually have few engineers currently under the student stream, and they are electrical engineers in the Philippines. So if they can be working as an engineer here in Ontario, what do we need to do to let them work? Yeah, what are the process? How would this will start?
It comes into effect already. It's already into effect now, but they just have to go through the same process.
Because people in the back can hear.
So it's in effect already as of like May 15th. It is, so any engineer that's coming over just has to go through the same qualifications and application, but they're called,
They will recognize, like automatically recognize the experience.
Yes, they just have to challenge that, the credential test. That
They have to take the
anyone-
test that's here.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
they have to take
But
the test here.
it's open for all engineers, not just electrical engineers.
Okay, so mechanical.
How do we contact them? Do we have the resources or the contact information?
We can get.
You have to go to the Professional Engineers of Ontario to go
okay.
through them. Yes.
So the regulatory body.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
There is another question.
Not only engineering, how about other professions like teachers and
Nursing.
nurses?
Nurses.
So we hope to see other organizations follow suit with professional engineers, but right now it's strictly with the professional engineers. The first organization to implement that or eliminating the Canadian work experience, but that's just in the engineers at the
Yeah,
moment.
recognizing foreign credentials, which is the important part.
Yes.
So it's really up to the regulatory bodies in partnership with us. That's why I know for those of you who know Rodolfo Lastimosa,
He was recently elected to the Colleges of Nurses of Ontario, I think is the right name. But I know that's one of the big things that he's advocating for. So it's really, about that, trying to help change it from within and also working together with the ministry.
I have experience with nurses, international students who are here, and they are already licensed. They already got their license and working as a nurse. So in a matter of, he just have his license gotten last 2 weeks ago, and he called me yesterday and he told me that, Mom, from $16 I'm now earning $48 an hour, RN. So just go to the CNO or to the regulatory body. There are news posted in there. If you are a physiotherapist, go there. If you are not in the CNO, of course, the regulatory body of therapists, the college. And then this is the first one, the engineer. And we're just so excited because there's a lot of engineers here in Canada. Filipino engineers actually. So if you know of people in the schools, in the student stream, let them know that they can work as engineer while working while doing their program. They can on the part-time, if they are come around October 7, they can work 40 hours, right?
Yes,
More than 40 hours.
Unlimited.
Unlimited for those that just come before October 7 and applied on October 7 because it's very technical, eh? You say, oh, I came here and you just came after that, I'll work 40. Please don't. It's very dangerous. And so the engineers, I've known of flocks of engineers, please, we're here right now, just spread the word because it's for us.
Yeah, we need more information about that. So I will get the site or a direct link so we can pass it on. And we can put it in our web.
Yeah.
So in Facebook.
Okay, we have another question here. Is there any age limit for that program, for the engineers?
It's discrimination if you do that.
Nothing, right? Yes. Yeah. Nowadays it's a retiring age. Yeah, if it's a working age, then yeah, satisfactory age, right? Doesn't have to be too young, doesn't have to be old, basta working pala.
Oh, I have a question to the two, Madison and Chris. We have already engineers here, have been working in a different category, but because they don't have that say practice as the nurses, can they still be an engineer without the practice for a long time?
They have to retake the tests that the professional engineers have so that they can. So they still have to take their requirement tests that are in Ontario to basically license them.
It's the registration.
Exam.
Yeah, it's the registration exam, right?
Yeah.
It's actually a very good opportunity though, because for us accountant, we have to undergo 2 years of schooling again before we can be recognized as an accountant, a designated accountant here. With the engineers, they just need to take the challenge exam and they can practice the profession. It's actually very good, right? Any question?
Yeah, hi. Just a follow-up to that. I'd like to just be clear about this. Number one, as long as they're an engineer, they don't have to have an age limit. The experience does not matter, like if they're still working as an engineer right now, as long as they challenge to test on your website. Am I right? And if they pass it, and then they can actually go into the program.
It's all with the professional engineers of Ontario. We're separate from the professional engineers. They're their own organization, and Ministry of Labor and Immigration does not happen to involve any of the testing or anything like that.
Yeah, just for the professional engineers of Ontario, right?
Correct. You have to apply with them, through them, take their test.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Once they pass the test, they're fully
able to practice.
Is it online?
Professional engineers.
Yeah, the exam online?
I believe it's in person. I'm not too sure of their process. It's totally different from ours, so I'm not sure their.
So as a follow-up to that, if in case they pass it, will they have a license or a certificate that they can show any other possible employers that they passed this test from you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. But that's, like you said, that's their own process, and they're separate from ours as the ministry. So yeah, it's up to them. I don't know how their process works.
We'll pass along their information, but we don't directly handle their credentials or their certificate, their testing and whatnot. That's totally separate.
Thank you.
So I think what was taken was the credentialing, right? It's just go straight to the exam, take the test, pass it, and then you are an engineer. Yes. That's how simple it is.
It's just how to connect with them.
Yes,
It's
right.
something that we have to pass it on. It's very important.
I think as a community, what we can do also is maybe we can organize a program for engineers so that we can provide the support. Maybe they need to review also.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yes, they can have like a review
Yes.
class because it's not that easy too, right?
There is a professional engineers group, Chris, right? There is a professional engineers group in Ontario.
Yeah, actually, we have Tom De La Cruz. He's an engineer. He just passed his license. That was last year. Maybe we could get some insights from Tom. So he belongs to a group of engineers.
Yeah, floor, please. The front.
It's just so unfortunate that many of the workers were not able to come because this is a very, very
forward.
Thank you.
Experience. Yes, congratulations, Tom.
Yeah. Your experience, the registration, how to go through it, how you pass it, so just get your information.
And what's the engineers support?
Support, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, we have an organization here. If you can Google it, Association of Filipino Canadian Engineers, and I'm part of it also. So my process is different. Like we came here 2011. I applied for engineering licensure in PEO 2012, and they said it's either you pass. The process is like this. There are two portions of that. One is academic, one is experience. So the academic, they will evaluate your credential in Philippines. So when I applied to PEO, they said, okay, your engineering degree is equivalent to 2 years diploma in Canada. Yeah.
That's no longer.
Yeah, which is good.
Do they have to be licensed also?
No, I am a licensed engineer in Philippines. I have another degree in Philippines. And I have another level, which is a professional mechanical engineer, which is equivalent to, kind of equivalent to master's degree. But again, when I bring my credential here, they said you're equivalent to 2 years diploma. So I said, how can I get my license in Canada? So they said, it's either you take the interview. If you pass the interview, you pass the academic portion, but still you have the experience. Experience portion, they needed 12 months experience in Canada and at least 3 years outside Canada. So minimum 12 years here to get a license. So the academic, instead of me going for an interview, I took the exam. They gave me 4 technical exams, and luckily I passed all of them. And then for the experience, they needed to have 12 months of experience here, and some, like you should be working under a professional engineer in Canada. So by the time I got a colleague who is working with me as a professional engineer, so he vouched that I'm working as an engineer here. So that's the time they gave me the license. But it took me like 2012 to 2020 before I got my license. So it is because the exam, they just give it twice a year, I think April and October. So the first situation is, if you pass, I was given 4 exams. If you pass 2 exams on the first sitting, they will waive everything. So just 2 exams. If you pass, like 55%, I think is the passing. If you got 55 on both exams, everything will be waived. Unfortunately, I got 50 for both. So I took the other 2. So I passed all of the 4 exams, and then they evaluate my experience here. And then when they realized that, yeah, I'm working as an engineer, so they gave me the license. But it took 8 years. But it's good now that they changed the rules. They don't need like experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good thing.
So that's totally well shortened. I just want to clarify that, right? Because see, from 2011 to now, it took like 8 years
Wow.
to have the license because number one, because of the credential, the experience requirement, which is taken out now. So if you are a licensed engineer from the Philippines, challenging the exam in the websites of professional
Congratulations, Tom. Well done. And I think the minister has something for the volunteers that Madison would like to present. You know, this program, the Migrant Workers Conference, were really designed for the migrant workers, for you, the Filipino Achievers and the Global Foundation really worked hard to come up with this program because we really understand how it is to start your life here in Canada. That we know that if you have all this information, your life will be easier, right? Hindi nyo nadadaanan yung hirap na dinaanan namin noon when we started our life here. So we would like to, we're very grateful for the community, the Filipino community here in Barrie, to support this program for our migrant workers. Because if these migrant workers were able to land here in Canada, they will start also inviting their family here or sending money back to the Philippines, to their family. Indirectly, we are helping also our country, right? So I'm hoping that some of you who are already citizens here and here in Barrie, you will be able to support our migrant workers in this area. Like example, for the engineers, if we can organize again another program for them where they can come and connect with other engineers so that they will be able to be motivated to come and get the license that they need, right? So that their journey here will be easier. Okay, thank you for that. And now, let's give the time to Madison to also recognize the community volunteers that really work hard to make this program realize. Thank you.
Yes,
we will help you. Okay.
I'll just say, like, on behalf of Minister Monty McNaughton, he's really appreciates all the work that you are doing for the community. And he's offered all the volunteers scrolls just as a little appreciation from him and say thank you. He's very sorry that he cannot be here today to present them on his own, but we're just going to pass them out. So thank you again. And if you ever need anything else from us, please let us know. We're happy to just chat, pass along any information. We'll connect you with Kelly if there's any other additional information that you need from her. And that's about it. So thank you again.
Tawagin mo sila dyan sa gitna. Tawagin mo silang dalawa sa gitna.
Shy.
Madison, it's really nice if it's you calling them. Sige na, dalawa sila. Can you go?
This is for the Filipino Global Initiative Foundation Incorporated. I usually don't do photos. Chris can do the photos.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to be in photos.
They're not supposed to be in the photos.
They're not supposed to be in photos, so, but thank you.
Come on, guys.
Yes, the center. Yeah, here.
Masarap siya mic dun.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. I'm the president of Partido Federal and of course this organization. And I want to say thank you to all my officers and members to helping this organize the program. So I want to welcome Mr. Chris to join us here to give the certificate for all the volunteers.
Read the name. Yeah, read the name. Whatever it is. Okay, so this is for the Filipino Global Initiative Foundation, Inc. For the organizing of the Filipino Migrant Workers Conference. The Filipino Global Initiative Foundation, Inc. and Filipino Achievers Canada has done great works for communities across Ontario and around the world. Together, we will continue to fight for workers' rights in the province and make Ontario the best place to live, work, and raise a family. I look forward to developing our important relationship and building on our achievements together. I would like to wish you the best with your conference. Please accept my sincere wishes for this event. The Honorable Monty McNaughton, Minister, Labor, Immigration, Training, and
Yay! Thank you.
Next one.
Mike daw, Mike.
Mas mataas kasi. Mas mataas.
Yes, okay. Sa kanya to.
This call is hereby presented to Clark Cobornoy on the occasion of the Filipino Migrant Workers Conference. Next, I'm calling to Mark Andres.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, you can stay there like one. Yeah, you can stay there. Yeah,
Okay, the next one would be for our dear Ophelia Denora. Next would be for the hard work of Beethoven Crasco. So, dito sa very industrial area, Beethoven is actually our host here. So, sorry? And the president also of the association, Filipino Association here in Barrie.
Actually, our president is Rose Marot of the PhilCan Association Barrie, but I'm the president of the Partido Federal for Barrie Club. Thank you for attending and thank you for support, especially for our sponsors.
Okay, the next would be Maria Fe or Atilani Aguinaldo. Thank you very much for your participation there and for your effort there. She's the one contacting all the guests though. Without her, we won't have any representation from from the labor. Yes, from the ministry. Thank you so much.
Okay, next is Gloria Cardinal Tan. She's also the president of PFP, Partido Federal, and the Global Initiative in Toronto area. Please come on stage.
These are all the global.
Yes, and another one is for Miss Kurikut. She's not around though. I think she's in the she's in the consulate, but she's the one who actually booked this place. So we all give thanks to her generosity.
And this is from the, she's from the Filipino Achievers, Canada.
Yeah, our representative from Filipino Achievers.
Okay, next is Judith Gonzalez. I'm calling to Judith Gonzalez. She is also from Filipino Global Achievers, Canada. So thank you for your help.
Thank you, Ed. You've always been a great support to the Filipino community, not just in Barrie though, like actually in Toronto, she's very active. I always see her face everywhere there. Every Filipino community activity there, she's present. Yeah. So another recognition for Judy Montenegro.
Judy is downstairs helping the consulate.
Okay. So, and lastly for Nid Ridge. They have a Ridge.
So there is one more here. She's from Filipino Globals. Wilma Ismael, she's not around, but she is working with us to organize this event.
Yes.
Okay.
Picture po, picture.
Like this.
Buksan daw natin.
I will send.
Okay. Ready? Okay. Ready? 3, 2, 1. One more time. 3, 2.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. So again, this is not the only time we're gonna do this. Okay, we're hopefully gonna do this every year. So now our attendance may not that big, but no, spread the word because more and more Filipinos are coming every year, and everybody deserves the information that we have here. Yes, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, actually, I invited a lot of students and migrant workers, but you know, what's the life of the students? They study during weekdays and they work on the weekend because they need to earn money to support themselves while they're studying. At the same time, they have to cover the expensive tuition fees because they're not considered as not an immigrant yet, so they need to pay the full tuition fee, which is per semester is $8,000. So that's why we're doing it live right now. So those who miss this would get the information that what we have discussed today. And also the SMNI News. Thank you for your presence and for covering this event.
Okay, so don't leave yet kasi may pa-lunch si Mayor. So thank you to our sponsors. The sponsors through the help of Mr. Beethoven, he was able to recoup some funds so that we have some food and refreshment later on at 12.
While we are waiting for lunch, kasi nag-cater tayo for lunch, so I want to call Beethoven to introduce the federal advocacy, federalism advocacy. Yeah.
It's too early.
Yeah. So I think you can gain knowledge about federalism, the form of government. Hopefully we can have that back home.
Oh, okay. So anyway, according to the program, I'm supposed to speak at around 2 p.m. But anyway, since we're waiting for our lunch to be served, before that, I would like to acknowledge our sponsors, the Kabayan Remit, and we have the T4G by Tom De La Cruz. He's one who spoke earlier. Kabayan Remit is presented by Charlotte Limar. We have also Princess Manalo. And we have the Advocare. So Jennifer, she's a lawyer in the Philippines, and at the same time, she also a lawyer here in Canada. So she had all the credentials. So she's more qualified to give you legal advice, both in the Philippine law and Canadian law. So feel free to connect with Jennifer with your immigration issues and other problems. We have also the Philcan Home Care, Cherry. So Philcan Home Care is some sort of employment agency wherein they supply workers to the seniors. And in the website, you could check what other services they could offer. And we have also the Vistaland. Vistaland is it's a real estate property development and marketing groups by the Villar group of companies. And Vistaland just opened their market here. That was 2 months ago. And so for those of you who are interested to buy any properties anywhere in the Philippines, you could contact the Vistaland group, which is they asked me to join them, which also I'm also accredited to sell properties. So approach me. And what else did I forget? We have the Lakuts. Lakuts is a luxury handbag, and this will less expensive compared to the other bags that the ladies are buying.
Good quality though.
Yeah, it's good quality. So I covered everything, right? Okay. And our partners, of course, is the Department of Migrant Workers, the Philippines Department of Foreign Affairs. They're doing the consular services downstairs. We have the Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, Filipino Achievers Canada, SMNI, and the PhilCan, which is the local organization in very Filipino Association in various urban areas, which is I'm also one of the board of directors. And our president right now is Rose Malot. He was here around, but he's doing her passport processing downstairs. Okay, I think I'm going now to my advocacy about federalism. Supposedly I'd be preparing something here in the board, but Clive called me earlier, so I have I have to prepare it here at the back. So anyway, I started my knowledge about federalism about 20 years ago. I was a journalist back in the Philippines before I migrated here in Canada. At that time, I'm working as a bureau chief in the Philippine News Agency. It's a government information news wire, and they assigned me to work in Puerto Princesa, Palawan. So during those times, it was the time of Senator Pimentel, which he introduced the bill about the decentralization of the government allocation of budget. So meaning, instead of the national government dictating what budget will be given to its provinces, each province and city have their own budget allocation and they could spend it accordingly. And during those times, I don't have any yet knowledge about it, so it takes me time to dig more into it, and then it takes years until I came to Canada, and then I was able to compare the system of our government, which is the presidential, and the system of government in Canada, the federal parliamentary form of government. So in my course of trying to figure out how it works, so there's a big difference about how the system of government works. So if you compare it to the concept of federalism is I compare it to the family setup, because in our society is composed of individual families. So my family, your family, each of us composes the society, and as a whole, we were composed as a nation. So basically, how government works is patterned to how a family is being run in our own individual household. So it's a reflection of how government how government is run on how the family is being run. So typically, in a family setup, there's a father and a mother. So, and when you have children, some of them, when they're still small, they have to be dependent on the mother and the father. So it is the role of the father and the mother to guide the children. As they grow up, when they reach a certain level of maturity, they become independent. So they leave the houses, they do their own thing. So you don't need to meddle with them as far as their choices of work, choices of their how they spend their money, and all those stuff. So if the mother and the father would violate this natural system of how the family is set up, there will be chaos in the family. For example, in my case, I have a 26-year-old son. At the age of 18 years old, he already developed his own independence. So if I will still control him, tell him, hey, you earn money, give me your money. I'll give you this, I'll just give you a certain portion. So his tendency as a human nature is to rebel, because he already earned his own independence. And my children who is below 18 years old, is still dependent on me. So I still have to guide him in a way that how you guide them depends on what is your morals, what is the value in life. So basically, the family setup, if you compare it to government, it should be run that way. So that's why if the government leadership were to suppress the people, the tendency of the people will rebel. That's why there's so many rebellions, there's so many rallies and all those things. So this is not a matter of a political thing. Governance, good governance should be based on the family setup. Which is the ideal family setup is, okay, so we nurture a child once they reach the age of 18 years old and above, we guide them and then we let them go. We let them explore their own talents and we let them thrive on their own. And our role on the time on this stage is just to give them advice, and so that they will become progressive in their own field. So if you compare it to the Philippine setup and the Canadian setup, Philippines right now is under the presidential form of government. So basically, I'm trying to compare the family setup and between the Canadian setup and the Philippines. So Canada, if you know this, is practicing the ideal family setup, which is a natural governance. So why did I say that? Because each provinces, they have their own laws and they govern their own regulations. They have their own the premier. They could formulate their own laws, and all the projects, all the taxes, they could decide on their own what to do. And the federal government cannot dictate to them directly, so they have their own independence. So, meaning, if you compare it with the family setup, the Canada has already reached its maturity level when it compared to the age of a son. They already reached the 18 years adulthood thing. So don't meddle with them, because if you meddle with them, you'll be chaos. So that's why, although there's no such thing as a perfect government, because the government are run by imperfect people. So there will be no perfect government. But the system that we're practicing is the basic principle wherein the family is being run. And just like Ontario, okay, our taxes goes directly to the coffers of the Ontario government, and at the same time with the cities, the city of Perry, they have their own collection of taxes, the property taxes, and they decide on their own. Here in Perry, they don't need to get the permission of the Ontario government or the federal government to implement projects. That's why they cut off the red tapes. So comparing to the family setup, that's how Canada is being run right now. And if you compare to the Philippines right now is being controlled just like as a dictator or something. Not really, but authoritarian, wherein the Manila or the Malacanang control all the budget, and then sometimes they suppress the budget of its provinces. So that's why there are so many rebellions. There are so many complaints, and if you compare it to the family setup of a family, as if nagkagulo-gulo. So our setup in the Philippines is dysfunctional because of the form of government that we are in. Although we have the good intent to run it, but our system tried to give us the I'm trying to get the term. As if it's parang it gives you the temptation to do bad because you're open to all of this power to control the whole nation. But if you adopt the federal form of government, each provinces in the Philippines have their own power to run their own affairs. Just like in our, compared to sa mga anak natin, 18 years old na anak natin, 26 years old na. So they control their own affairs. They could create their own family. They control their finances. They spend their own money. They don't need to get permission from you. So in the form of our government, each provinces should adopt the same system. And the only way we could do that is we have to be a federal government, that's the basic natural way of good governance. It's nature. It's nature. We're talking about nature. It's not about politics or whatsoever or a certain form of a dogma or an ideology. This is nature. If you compare it even with the animals, okay. So comparing to the chicken, the mother chicken, when they have the chicks, they have to take care of them at the young age. But when they grow up, it's a natural tendency of the mother to take care of their chicks. But when they grow up, they let go. So, wala na kayo. Just like an eagle. An eaglet, the mother eagle will take care of them. But once they grow up, they soar and they fly on their own. That's how good governance should be done as well. It's nature. Same with the plants. The trees and the ferns, they crawl and then they split. When they become mature, they part ways with the mother plant. So good governance should be based on the family structure. So kung kinokontrol mo yan, magkagulo-gulo sa family. Kaya merong divorce, merong away-away sa mga anak, sa mga nanay, mga tatay. Because you violate the natural interrelationship of human being. It's all on human connection and human interaction. But if you assess all of this, how would you develop that good governance? We go back to the basic. We should base it from the love. That love of family. So in my case, I'm also not a perfect father, perfect person, right? I was committed mistakes in the past, but I learned something from it. And I try to correct it in such a way that every one of us, we have our own family, we have our own challenges. In fact, if those people who knew my background, before I migrated here, I have a family back home, and I got a divorce from my ex-wife, and then I did ways how to fix it, but the other party won't cooperate, so I have to move on. And luckily, I'm happy right now. I have with my wife, and it's a challenge for us. So that's one of the learning process that I have to undergo, that you have to undergo. It's irrelevant of us have to undergo. So if you ask me why I am very passionate about federalism, because it's all about family. And Philippines needs to adapt this. This is not about politics or something. This is about family, the human connection among us.
Thank you. Yeah, just to add to that though, kasi nga, Ang political system kasi sa Pilipinas presidential, di ba? So, Tagalogin ko lang, ang ma-add ko lang doon is, kaya prone to corruption kasi isang sentro lang yung governance. Oo. Ang federalism, just like here in Canada, per province, they can run their own show. So, tayo, anong role natin dito? Nasa Canada tayo, kaya sa Pilipinas? No. Our role here is information. You know? Kasi may information sa pamilya, nagpapadala ng pera dun eh. Diba? So, they gonna listen to us. So, if we advocate for federalism, that's gonna improve the functionality of our country and of our province. Right? Kasi naranasan natin in the past few years, sa northern Luzon, pinabayaan. Kasi nga ayaw nung administrasyon. So, maiwasan natin yan pag federalism.
Yeah, I think in the same line of Beethoven and Clive, I think that our country, Philippines, I think is planning towards federalism. The only thing is we need to have the information dissemination. So now that you are in Canada, perhaps it's a good idea also to educate the significance of federalism. And we see in Canada how it works so well. So we have the responsibility also to educate our family how significant is federalism in our country. And also some of the senators also gearing towards federalism. And also I think our government now is starting to educate parts of the country about federalism. I think we have to be in that line.
So, any questions or any additional? I have Wilma.
Yes.
There's a microphone.
Hello, meron ba pala?
Wilma.
Magandang umaga. Sige mga from Filipino Migrant sa Perry. Pinalit ako. I'm advocate of federalism.
Oh, thank you.
Kaya lang, may mga question akong unang-una, it's a long way to do that. Unang-una, you have to clean the government. Number one, ang daming issues na yun doon. High prices, basta madami pinapalabas ang mga tao, yung mga gano'n, na dapat ayusin muna yung gobyerno, tapos simulan natin sa federalism. Madaming issue. Corruption, number one, hindi pa nakokorek yung mga PhilHealth issues, and madami. Maganda, kasi dito nararamdaman natin yung federalism. Number two, some question. It's not a question. It's a cup sa federalism. Family. If they really believe in that family that we are telling, sana yung mga ini-invite nilang workers, dala-dala na yung family rito. Kasi doon nagsisimula, tayo, ikaw, daming iba, nagpahiwalay because of pagpapasok ng mag-isa mo rito, mag-work ka muna bago. Susunod after 10 years, 12 years ang family mo. Nakakalungkot yung ganun. So, yun, isang caps doon sa federalism na yun. Ang Filipino culture, hindi mo maihihiwalay yung sinasabi mo, hindi ako kontra sa sinabi mo na doon naghihiwalay. Naghihiwalay yan dahil sa hirap ng buhay sa atin. They think of something else para lang mabuhay, hindi yung mag-rebelde or what. Mahirap kasi ang sa atin talaga, kaya ang kultura natin, actually we are extended family. We don't like na humiwalay. May mga family rito na Filipino, ayaw nilang umalis 18 years old at ang mga magulang kinukup sa Pilipinas. Tayo lang ang nag-aalaga sa mga magulang natin doon. Dito ilalagay nila sa nursing home. So the family, I think, is a contradiction sa mga sinasabi natin sa federalismo. Kaya ako, aalagaan ko na lang ang kultura ko. Although there is a reason kung bakit naghihiwa-hiwalay ang pamilya.
Hindi ho dahil sa federalism ngayon na gusto natin mag-federalism. May mas magandang rason para maging federal sa Pilipinas. Hindi ho the family because ang culture natin is we are intact with our family. Kahit gaano katanda, kabata, ayaw natin humiwalay ang ating pamilya. Maraming salamat po. Sayang po kung di tayo ang ganda rin yung mga sinabi ni Sir Ben. Maraming salamat.
I'll be doing more of this in the social media.
Salamat eh.
I'm gonna get my son downstairs kasi may dala sila ng pagkain. So,
Oh, good. Sige, take over ako. Okay, so stay put muna tayo kasi may lafam. may pagpakain. Ano pa mga issues natin na pwede nating i-raise up? Okay. Anong pwede niyong Sige po. Yes.
Sa student, we can invite the speakers sa Georgian College because your head of is a Chinese and international student, and we will talk about the student, international student issue.
Georgian College and...
School mismo kasi madaming Filipino.
Oh, yeah.
We set up a date, and then the consulate will integrate with them, you know.
Sige. Yeah, that's a good suggestion though. Yes, po.
Just to relate to what she said, Georgian College just hired a country manager for the Philippines because they wanted to diversify the community of Filipinos here in America.
Okay.
So it's good if we contact the school international because we just hired that Philippine just to promote
Georgian College?
Yeah, yes po. Kasi po, yung head doon is a Chinese, Lily, he's been waiting for the mga ganang forum for this.
That will be another.
Yeah, see.
Oh, okay. Sige. Yeah, that would be a good move. Ben, kasi jurisdiction mo dito eh. So yun ang suggestion nila, if we can go straight directly to the school, if we want to penetrate the international students.
yeah, okay. I will talk to them. I will coordinate sa Georgian College.
Sa international student ko, sino dito ang international student? Okay, isa, dalawa, tatlo, apat. Ano ang naging issues ninyo? Kasi I have been bringing international students in Canada. 400 na yata ang dala ko dito. I mentor them. Half of them already are nurses, very successful. Kasi nga, it's planned from the get-go. If you come here as an international student and you don't know what you're doing, then you get lost.
Yes.
Right? I know all of you. That's why out of the 400 students, it has been planned from the beginning. Kaya alam nila yung next move. Okay? I can understand kung bakit kayo nawawala ngayon kasi it wasn't planned from the first time you come here. During the time that I advocate for nurses, that was 2000, even before international student in Canada, I was part of the round table by the governments of Canada, the IRCC, doing the DLI, you know, familiar with DLI, right? Before the DLI, being a vice president of the private college before, I was part of the consultations of the government for the DLI project. So even before mag-start ito, nalaman ko na kung ano yung magiging challenges ng mga students, which I've seen already prior to DLI. So na-connect ko yung mga students, kaya importante talaga mag-seek ng help. Kung ang school mayroong mga small groups, have a group, network. Yung mga successful students ko right now, because I was able to give them network. Huwag masyado, alam ko, kailangan natin magtrabaho, kailangan natin ihanap buhay yung ating profession. But magkano kayo ng time na makahanap kayo ng groups? Because that will help you a lot. Okay? No man is an island, lalo na dito sa country na strange tayo. So, create a group, mag-usap-usap, humanap ng mga resources, kasi ang dami naman eh. Ang daming resources, and I can always share my experiences. Out of the 400 students, none yet have gone home. Okay? 50% of them, nurses, engineers, physiotherapists, radiologist technician, yung mga ganon. So, they are all licensed now sa Canada. Again, you just have to i-plano lang natin. So, yes po? Yeah. So, yun po yung and I know that time, even, I came here sa Georgian College, one of my, yung proposal filming, pumunta kami dyan kasi nag-film ako ng mga machines nila, mga yung engineers. Georgian College is one of the top colleges that offers engineering program. Ikot ko na lahat ng universities dito sa Ontario. And I can say kung ano ang meron ng Georgian College. And you're lucky to be here. Right? So, ano yan? Ang tawag dito, take advantage of the opportunities na hindi nakukuha natin sa Philippines. Right? We have some opportunities here. Just take advantage of it. At ano po yun?
Paano po yung pag-alis ng mga international students ng 7 countries? Paano po how the orientation? Kasi bago sana rin sila magpaayos, yung orientation kung yan, DLI na yan, hindi alam ng mga ibang estudyante yan eh. Yung papasukan mo school kung walang DLI, para yatang mahihirap.
Naliligaw po.
Kaya what I mean po, from the Philippines sana, the sending countries,
The school,
tapos pagdating dito yung receiving din,
mayroong mag-group na mag-receive. That's a very good suggestion.
kawawa po talaga yung umaalis doon. Yung orient na lang sa kanila, SSS. Paano mag-limit? Mga ganun.
Yes.
Paano nga mag-apply ng trabaho? Pero yung dapat, kung nila kung wala kang DLI pala, mahihirapan kang everybody doesn't know what is DLI pala.
Yes. Designated Learning Institution. Okay, let me talk about the DLI.
Can I speak a reason? Sure. Alright. I'm going to say, I'm Lourdes Grace. I'm very Canadian one, and I belong to the community here in Barrie. Different kind of group. So, 2001, I think before I leave, I work from Hong Kong. I'm already level 2. So the instruction down there is when you arrive in Canada, either your students, go right away to the Philippine consulate. Because they are the one who more information about Canada, wherever you go, Hong Kong, Singapore, US, UK, go to the Philippine consulate because they have the program. But
They have the information.
Yeah, iba dito naliligaw kasi hindi mo ka doon, hindi ka registered. Either undocumented or not documented, according to Duterte, kay Marcos, sino ba? Makapagal, magpa-register ka doon. Kasi yun lang ang hawak mo eh.
They will equip you. They will equip you with the information to the country you're going. Kasi sila yung naandun. They have the experience.
So, tapos na pagdating ko doon, documentation, everything, parang kasi lang layo mo. Sabi ko, yeah, so, documentation. May mga contact dito, puntahan ko dito, si so because she involved in here.
Yes.
So, hindi ka maliligaw.
Yes.
But ang ibang dito, I don't know if they are scared about it because of their status that they are illegal coming in here or that's another problem. But kung ako estudyante, pupunta ako doon.
Yes.
I think the international students under the consulate are Philippine consulate. So I think we have a Grace this afternoon. That's why stay tuned. Grace is here. Who's going to be talking as a representative of the Philippine Consular Services. So stay tuned. And I know you have a lot of questions with regards to international students. And I think she is the right person to ask later on.
Yeah, that's the reason that I said Prime Minister doon.
Yes, yes.
Kaya ng mga programa para doon.
Yes, yes,
Kasi
yes.
ang mga katulad ko rin sila, hindi natin hawak
Yes.
ang ano, kasi nakalagay na lang kami sa gobyerno ng Ontario, ng federal, kung ano ang dapat.
O ano mga processes,
So, ayun ang
right?
naibigay namin.
Ano gagawin?
Pero yung sa Pilipinas na nakatugtog doon, kasi may mga activities ng iba, so yun ang kasi yung OFW at saka yung mga contract worker or illegal or whatever, yung mga dependent na hindi pa yung citizen, at saka immigrant, hawak pa rin niya ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas. Eh, hindi sana, mag-report lang doon, para malalaman kung anong mangyayari after 218.
I think it's a really good. I like your comments and suggestions, and I've been hearing from you guys comments and suggestions. And I like the idea of us forming a group for those coming international students, like so that they know what they're gonna do. We can help. You can help them, like navigate them to the right resources, right? So. If you are interested, I think that would be a good idea to support them. Because yung mga iba dyan, nawawala sila.
Nawawala talaga. Tapos sasabi, ibibigay pa yung gobyerno.
Yes,
So,
yes,
ang gobyerno
yes.
sa Pilipinas na walang mangyayari sa kanila. Ang totoo, alam resources.
So I think we have a lot of good traveling mentors in here. I think good resources, gaya ninyo, you already have this experience. And if you really want to help these kids who are coming, or the OFW, I think it's a good idea to form a community of people that will support them. And I think that's feasible.
Slowly, you integrate yourself into the community.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You don't want to learn something.
Yeah. So I also work in a hospital. I'm at St. Mike's. So I've been working there for 23 years. We have a lot of international students, like international students graduated that come to work to St. Michael's. So if you know that are graduating or finishing soon, you can let me know so I could, get like a job or something like that at St. Mike's. So that we will, you know what? The community that prays together or helps together, we will be a good community.
Stays together.
Or stays together. And I think I've seen your faces, you are so excited about this, so we might talk it with Lani.
Yeah, because we don't have this.
Yes, so Grace, wait for Grace. Grace is here.
Small group.
Yes, because the consular is, international students are under consular services. Kaya wait for Grace.
For about the consular matters we have downstairs, but because we have a new consul general, he just arrived Wednesday, so supposedly sila po in charge sa mga students. So since we changed the new consulate, after that maybe when she's settled, she gonna continue the program for the students. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Akala ko may mga consulate kasi dito. Kasi ang tanong ko lang naman, dahil sa department of yung bagong department, ano yung papel nila? Saan kami lalapit as international students? Sa national?
NATL, nandito po sa program. Kung may program kayo, nandyan po yung oras nila. Get po sila dito.
Anong oras ka?
After lunch po. After lunch. Yeah. After lunch po. Mag-lunch po muna tayo. Lahat po ng mga tanong ng mga students, pupunta yung consulate. Yeah, you can ask them.
Yeah, so kain muna tayo. Right? Kasi na-bless naman na kanina, dinasalan natin kasali na pagkain doon. Right? So, kain na tayo para pag-akit ng consulate dito, ready na tayo sa mga tanong natin.
Sandali na ito.
We still have more food coming, so we have chicken there, pancit, and yeah, they're on their way. Supposedly we're serving lunch at 12, so nag-start tayo ng maaga, kaya okay lang. At least may second batch kayo mamaya.
Yeah, so keep space muna sa chat natin. Marami pang darating na pagkain. Okay?
Hello everyone. While we're eating lunch, nandito po ang OWA, and Department of